sebab dia based on abang ni nama semua abang, bukan nama mama. Kalau komputer mama, abang dah zoom ni dah register kat nama abang in the system. Sebab dia based on abang ni nama semua abang, bukan nama mama. Kalau komputer mama baru tu tak ada ni. Zoom ni dah register kat nama abang in the system. Set another Zoom account. Sebab dia based on abang ni nama semua abang, bukan nama mama. Kalau komputer mama baru tu tak ada ni. Zoom ni dah register kat nama abang in the system. Set another Zoom account. Dia based on abang ni nama semua abang. Kalau komputer mama baru tu tak ada ni. Zoom ni dah register kat nama abang in the system. Set
Kalau barang yang bukan orang lain yang macam ni, biasa ni. Yang mana biru, biru pakai biru cair. Yang mana dia? Yang ni.
Assalamualaikum. Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me? Hello. Assalamualaikum. Good afternoon, everyone. Hello.
Assalamualaikum. Can hear you.
Assalamualaikum. I'm Fadlina here. Nice to see you all around.
Yeah, thank you. Here we go.
Can I just make a quick check? Can I have everybody to please mute your mic, please?
Okay.
Salam. Hello, thank you. Okay. To those in the YouTube, can you hear the sound? Prof. Wong, welcome. Can we make a quick sound check, please? Let's test your mic. Is it working? Prof. Wong?
Hello.
Hello, Prof. Wong? Prof. Wong, can you please speak up?
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello,
Can I be
Prof. Wong,
heard?
can you please speak up? Yes, I can hear you, Prof. Wong.
Okay, okay, good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I mute, huh?
Can I make a quick announcement? Can I have everybody to please mute your mic unless you want to ask question? Only Prof. Wong Luan, who is our speaker today, to be on air. Prof. Wong Luan, are you there?
Yes. I'm
Prof.
here.
Wong Luan.
Okay.
Prof. Wong Luan, I can see you, but I cannot hear you say anything.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Dr.
All right, okay. Yes, loud and clear. If everyone can hear that, please put your hands to the screen. Okay, nice. And do like this. So our camera is also working. Nice to see you all around. I'd like to welcome you to the first webinar on online learning for all by the Center for Academic Development in UPM. So for our session today, we are going to have our beloved Professor Dr. Wong Luan from University Putra Malaysia, the Faculty of Educational Studies. She'll be presenting on speech on e-assessment. I actually have one slide about her. Somehow I can find it. Give me a quick moment to find it. Okay, there it is. Okay, so this session, can you see my shared screen? Can you see my shared screen?
But I can't see your shared screen.
Okay, coming. Okay, can you see the screen now?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, nice. So introducing Prof. Wong Luan. She's from the Faculty of Educational Studies. The title of her speech today is Effective E-Assessment. This session is available here in Zoom as well as in YouTube Live. So we can communicate in both channels. A few quick announcements. To ensure that the session is smooth, please can I have everyone to mute your mic, not to have any disturbances. If you have any question, you can just interrupt at any time. You can just switch on your mic at that point of time and ask question. The format of our session today is we're going to have just one speaker. Is it clear?
Yes, but
okay, nice. For UPM fellows, we are having this online attendance as well. So your engagement today counts as CPD. To get to this, please go to here. I will put this in the chat. I'll put this in the chat so you can catch up. It is also, I believe, in Prof. Wong's slide. Right. To welcome a bit, let me just give a quick introduction on e-assessment. Right. Okay. So the benefits of using e-assessment is that this technology can bring many benefits, a greater variety and authenticity, improve learner engagement. So you imagine that after certain engagement with your students,
Hello.
Yes, is that a problem?
I just want to know whether we'll get this the slides.
Yes, we will create a MOOC course for all our slides, Prof.
Okay, thanks.
Yes. I will also show you where to get the slides after this quick notion. Yes.
Dr. Fa, can ask Dr. Shafa to mute her mic and also Dr. Daniel because the echo.
Okay, can I have everybody to please switch off your mic? I have switched. Okay. Right. So I have the people switching off the mic. Right. So this is just a bit of the theory. E-assessment can be done for diagnostic as well as summative and formative assessment. What is diagnostic? So imagine that before you start something, to reflect back, especially at this time, you want to pick up back, recollect what the students have gotten since last session. So that is diagnostic assessment. Assessment can also be done as summative assessment and formative assessment. These are all the Moodle assessment functions that we can use. Assignment, quiz, and forum are familiar to all of us. But inside Moodle, actually, we can use also lesson, workshop, and wiki. So there will be a continuity training after this to address each of this. But for now, I would just highlight the types of quizzes that you can explore on your own. It's actually very easy. If you go to your Putra Blast or any of your Moodle system, depending on your institution, you can go and try to add activity, quiz, and then just follow through the steps by steps. You can also try H5P, which is a new feature in Moodle. In H5P, there are various functions available, and one of fantastic one for us specific to quiz is the question sets. And this slide, this link provides you specific step by step on how to set up the quiz question set. and these are the recommended tutorials for the assessment. So this is my quick introduction on e-assessment. I would like to also take your attention to the materials that we have built in UPM at CADe to support you to go through online learning to get started. So to do this, just please get to the CADe website and then you can see this first banner. Then if you just click through, you will see the second banner and click for more info here. You would get to this page. So this page will provide you many materials. So this is in Malay just for the benefits of those of you who needs English. I will just change to English for now. Right. So coming, right. Okay, this is in English. So you can see here the steps-by-step infographics that we have provided. This is something useful. We have heard from you asking what are the suitable options for us to conduct online learning depending on various bandwidth. So some students are not having access to good Wi-Fi. So we come up with this illustration to guide you. If the students only have low internet bandwidth, then you can consider to use group messaging and do multiple learning. Otherwise, you can consider medium and high applications as stated here. You can also start to develop digital materials. Don't worry about this. There will be a series of training to support you to come up with good digital materials coming to you next week and after. We also have developed this FAQ where you can go through. Just click on this. So this all the compilation of questions that we have collected previously based on your needs. So you can just go through. Just this is totally clickable. Webinar series, all the announcements will be provided here, and we also have document and link. So the e-assessment guide that I have used just now will also be added here, as well as other materials. As I have informed earlier, we're going to create one MOOC course on online learning in the Putra MOOC platform for your benefits. Right, without further ado, I would like to now call upon our beloved speaker of the day, Professor Dr. Wong Luan, to start her presentation. Prof. Wong?
Yes. Okay, I'm going to share the screen.
Now. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Is it visible on the screen now?
Not yet. Not yet, Prof.
Not yet.
Not yet. Can you try again, please? You have to go to share and then choose. Is it showing on your screen already, Prof?
It is, but I've already pressed the... Let me do it again.
If you go to share and then you click, is your slide in the PowerPoint, Prof?
It is. I'm going in again. Okay. I'm share screen.
Okay.
Okay. I think should be.
I hope it's coming soon. All right. Okay.
Is it?
It's appearing now. Nice. So an announcement to everybody. You can raise hand. To do this, if you go to the bottom of your screen, please hover to the bottom of your screen. You can see several functions: mute, stop video, invite, manage participants, share, and everything. You can chat with the rest of the participants there. If you would like to raise hand, let's say you want to ask any question, just please click on manage participants, and then you can see raise hand or lower hand. So we can use that function if you want to ask any question, or if you are somehow ignored, you can interrupt just by putting on your speaker. Another option that we would like to encourage you to do, we will try to do this interactively. So if you can hover your mouse to the top of your screen, you can see view options. Click view options, then you can see annotate. Click annotate. In the annotate, this function is for you to annotate. Prof Wong, please allow us to do this for testing, yeah?
Yep.
Right. So you can use this function to annotate. I'm going to use this blue line to annotate. Everybody can do that already. Can you try? Right, so I can see you there. That's nice. So this function is useful for us to interact. Let's say there are certain things that you want to ask to the participants. We can do that together. I hope you are now ready for the presentation. Yeah? Okay, so now all to you, Prof.
Thank you, Dr. Fadlina. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for joining today's session. First of all, I'd like to thank CADe for putting this together in a very short time. And what I'm going to share with you today is an experience that I had with a course that I was teaching last semester for the first time. So basically, this session is my experience sharing with a particular course. And before I go into this sharing session, I like to give a little bit of explanation about what's happening with our assessment at the moment. So if you see on the screen, the slide current scenario. So this is where we are now, the current scenario where it's grade driven. So our assessment is very grade driven at the moment. So everybody wants to score good grades when you do assessment. But what we want now, we are actually heading towards this on the right hand side. This is what we have been doing when I was with CADe and the transformation, academic transformation, where I was heading the alternative assessment task force. This is what we are working on. The way forward, what kind of assessment do we want to create for our students? So basically, we want a student-driven assessment through alternative assessment. So the keyword here for today's session would be alternative assessment. So what does it do? What's benefit for students as well as educators like us? Now, what we want actually is to students to have better control of their learning, which means that they learn through assessment. The assessment is a tool which helps students to learn better, to know what are the expectations of a course. So that gives them empowerment. It also allows the students to gauge their own performance. How much have I learned? How much have I not learned? What can I do? Yeah. So at the same time, it also informs us as educators, whether we are using the right strategies, have we been using the right methods to teach our students? What is it that we need to change throughout our 14 weeks semester? We also want our students to improve their performance. So alternative assessment is actually emphasizing on what students can do and what students cannot do, rather than what students have learned. So in a way, we actually as educators, we are trying our very best to assess our students holistically. And to do this, we have the digital assessment, which I will be sharing with you, the e-assessment. And also I'd like to emphasize a little bit on grade-free assessment, and as well as competency-based assessment. So what is exactly alternative assessment? It is just basically any type of assessment which moves away from the traditional method. So we all know that the traditional method is MCQ, multiple choice questions. So we are also familiar with that. We give multiple choice questions, or we give essays and test and paper, traditional kind of tests. And students are confined in a room or a hall, an examination hall, to take the exams. So anything which is not in that form is called alternative assessment. Now, alternative assessment is also known as, commonly referred to as authentic assessment, as well as performance-based assessment. Now, I'm going to share with you a lot of examples from the education perspective. That's where my area of expertise is. So I'm going to give you an example of what is authentic assessment and what is performance-based assessment. These are commonly used interchangeably to reflect alternative assessment. So when we talk about authentic assessment, give you an example of our students at the Faculty of Educational Studies. In the final semester, they go out to the schools to do their practical training. So when we assess these teachers or future teachers in the classroom, we are assessing their pedagogical skills in an authentic environment, which is the real school, the school environment. So that's called authentic assessment. But in the situation where these students are being assessed of their pedagogical skills, their teaching skills in a simulated environment, let's say, for example, even before they go out to the schools, we have this particular course, which is called CADe-Lead Mengajar. And they actually do micro-teaching. So micro-teaching is a simulated environment where the coursemate becomes their students. So this is what we call performance-based assessment. So that's the difference between authentic assessment and performance-based assessment, but both actually refers to alternative assessment. So that's just basic information about alternative assessment. So if you have, the next question that comes in your mind would be, what are the types of alternative assessment available? I'm sure many of us actually have used alternative assessment throughout our lectures, in the way we carry out our teaching in the classroom. So, for example, we have portfolios. Yeah, so I'm going to be sharing with you a little bit on portfolios. Even open book examination is also considered as alternative assessment. We have role play, debate, dissertations. So these are some few examples that I put together to show you, to give you an idea of what is alternative assessment. Right, so from now on, I'm going to share with you my experience handling a course last semester, and sharing with you what was unexpected. So because it was a course that I had handled for the very first time last semester, which was educational technology, this is a compulsory course for all Bachelor of Education students in their second year. So I had been assigned to teach a group of physical education students, together with my two other colleagues, Dr. Masnida and Dr. Ahmad Fauzi. So I have to give credit to my colleague, Dr. Masnida, for conceptualizing and designing the graded assessment for this particular course. So because this course was a first for me, I had no idea what to expect. So I told myself to expect the unexpected. So this is the synopsis of my course that I handled. 120 student learning hours, yeah. There were 3 learning objectives. Number 1, which was C6, the highest level of knowledge. The students will be able to design. All right. So this LO is the highest level, design and instruction based on the principles of educational technology. The second LO was to develop instructional media for teaching and learning. And the third LO is to exhibit appropriate use of instructional media for teaching and learning. So I'm sure all of us, when we want to start preparing for a course, whether you're teaching it for the first time or whether you're teaching it for the umpteenth time, you know, you'll be teaching it many, many years, we still refer back to our learning outcome. So this is something that we usually do to help us in our planning stage. So for this particular session today, I will be sharing with you the planning stage for the assessment, right? So what happened here is that when you are planning for your assessment, we need to align our assessment with the LO. I'm sure everybody knows this is OBE, right? This is the very basic of OBE. So I have put together a few questions that would actually perhaps help you when you are at the planning stage, when you are trying to figure out what kind of assessment am I going to use? How many assessments do I need for this course to achieve the course learning outcomes? So there were 3 course learning outcomes for my course. And the team who were handling the course, decided that there would be 5 assessments. So we had 5 assessments to make sure that we could achieve, that students can achieve the learning outcome. Then the next question that may come to your mind would be, how many E-assessments? So you may not want to have all E-assessments for your course. So although this course is an educational technology course where students are exposed to basics of how to create videos, how to create ARs, they learn about VRs, virtual reality, and so forth. We decided that out of the 5 assessments that we were going to assign to students, we wanted them to have 3 E-assessments. So for this particular session, I'm going to show you all 3 of the E-assessments, which were very basic, very straightforward, nothing mind-boggling, but done in a manner where, in the digital way. The next question that you may want to actually answer, or comes to your mind, would be, would it be group or individual work? Now, you have to probably assess the number of students sign up for your course. Is it going to be a big group or is it going to be a small group? So for that particular semester, last semester, I had 51 students in my class. And we decided that we are going to have a mixture of group work as well as individual work. How many SLT, how many student learning time would be required to complete? When we design the assessment, we have to take into consideration how many hours would our students take to complete this assessment. That's very important, because if we do not take that into consideration, students may take many hours, and students do not take 4 to 5 courses per semester. They take maybe more than that per semester. So that would be a very heavy load for our students.
Excuse me, Prof.
Yes?
Can I just ask while we at that? When you say that we can estimate the students' hours, considering that there's remote setup,
Yes.
do you think that the hours would increase compared to the normal ones? Is there any guide on how to estimate?
I wouldn't say there is a straightforward way, but if we are going to do it virtually, then probably we will then reduce the number of group work for the assignments, but maybe increase the individual work. But I do not think there is a magic number or magic formula that we could actually use to come up with the SLT. But I think we put ourselves as students, put ourselves in their shoes and ask ourselves, how many hours would I require to complete this based on our experience? But because I didn't have experience handling this course, I relied on my 2 other collaborators, the instructors who had experience handling previous semesters students, and that helped quite a bit.
Okay.
Did I answer your question, Dr. Fadlina?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, okay. And then probably the last question that you want to ask yourself would be, what types of e-assessments do you want to do? So I think there are many types, but the one that I'm going to show you are just very simple, straightforward. So after you have planned your e-assessment, you have an idea how many assessments you want, then the next stage would be designing your assessment. So I mentioned earlier that when we develop our assessment, you have to anchor your assessment to the learning outcome. So going back to the first learning outcome that I showed you on my course synopsis, design an instruction based on the principles of educational technology. Yeah. So based on what we had as the first LO, this was the assessment, the first e-assessment that was designed. The students were required to create one lesson plan. So lesson plan is a document that teachers use in schools. I think all of us as educators, we have some kind of lesson plan that we need to prepare before the start of the semester. So this particular lesson plan, excuse me, this particular lesson plan, we required the students to incorporate one video and one element of augmented reality, right? So the lesson plan was to be submitted online LMS. So I need to remind you that this experience sharing is based on a course that I taught last semester, which means I had face-to-face contact with my students. But because of our situation now, okay, currently the COVID situation, so there is a possibility that we are going to be teaching online, virtually, yeah? So we may not be able to see our students. So based on what I have experienced last semester and currently, all right, I do not see any problem how this particular assessment can be done if I do not see my students face to face. It can be done, right? So based on this, the SLT, student learning time, that we had actually discussed, we decided that students would actually take about 6 hours of their time to complete the video assessment. Yeah. So and as well as the possible when it's face to face. However, if in the situation where there is going to be virtual, students have no contact with their friends face to face, then we will change this into an individual assignment. Now, my worry at that time was I am dealing with a group of physical education students. So if you have seen physical education students, they are very active. They're always in their their sports attire. So I was very worried that these students may not be familiar with technology. So that was my biggest concern. The particular lesson plan, right, was to be submitted by week 7, yeah, week 7. But because of my worry for the students, I decided that my student would submit a draft of their lesson plan by week 5. So what happened was, this is the assignment that we gave to the students, right? So this is assessment 1. This is the question. This is the actual question that we had assigned our students. Yeah? With your group members, design a lesson plan based on your area of specialization. So like I said, my students were from the physical education background. So they were going to come up with some teaching aid which reflects their area of expertise, which is physical education. You should use the Assure model as a guideline. There must be evidence in the lesson plan that you will integrate technology such as videos and augmented reality. So they were required to upload their lesson plan. So there was no physical paper to be submitted to me. They were going to upload it to UltraBlast or any learning management system that you may have in your university or wherever you are attached to. And they submitted in the PDF format. So I had actually improvised this particular assignment. I requested my group of students to submit their draft by week 5. Okay, so throughout the semester, throughout the week, from the day I actually assigned them the e-assessment until week 4, I discovered that my students were asking a lot of questions, all sorts of questions. And based on these questions they had posed to me, I figured that they didn't actually quite understand the assignment. So you can imagine, in a situation when you're dealing with students face to face, you are reminding them, you're explaining to them, but they still do not quite catch what you want. They do not really understand what is the course expectation. So putting yourself currently now, if you're going to be using this e-assessment in a situation where you do not meet your students, you are going to meet them virtually. How are you going to deal with this situation? Yeah. So what I figured that by week 5, in order to arrest this problem of students not really understanding what is required, I had to give them the rubrics. So I'll talk about rubrics later, just in the next slide. At the same time, I also had one particular student who insisted that he wanted to work alone. He didn't want to work with anyone. Everyone had their own group, but this particular student wanted to work alone. So I had to be flexible at that point of time to allow these students to work together, to work alone, not with anyone else, because he just couldn't work with anyone. So going back to the problem that I had with my students, they didn't quite understand. Although, you know, when you meet them in class, you ask them and you explain to them, you say, faham, semua faham, yeah. But when I got back this particular draft that they submitted to me in week 5, I could see that they didn't really understand what was required for the course. So the remedy that I had actually put in place, based on my experience, was this. So what is the rubric actually? Now, if you look, this is an example. Yeah. So this was retrieved by, I got this from the internet. If you actually key into Google, you Google rubric plus whatever area that you are actually giving for your assignment. So this particular assignment was to create a lesson plan. So I just Googled rubric plus lesson plan. There were so many free rubrics available for us to use. But if you are not comfortable using any available rubrics, you can actually develop your own. It's quite simple to develop once you understand the concepts and the fundamentals of rubric. Now, if you look on the left-hand side of this screen here, the one in gray, these are called criteria. What is a criteria? Well, a criteria is what is it that you are going to assess your students according to the particular component. And this is a component of a lesson plan. So when you actually ask education students to develop lesson plan, in a lesson plan, there must be objectives, there must be goals, there must be instructional strategies. What kind of assessment? So I think all of us are very familiar with this, what is a lesson plan, right? So this doesn't look alien to you, shouldn't look alien to you. What kind of technology are you using? What materials would you use for your course? And how is the lesson plan being organized and presented? Now, this is on the left-hand side of the rubrics, which is called the criteria. The next thing that you see on the screen would be here. Beginning, developing, accomplish, exemplary. Yeah. Now, this is called the performance indicator. What is it that you want the students to be able to do? So, for example, if you look here, if the students are just at the beginning level, which means that they are not very proficient, they are not very competent, their score would be between 0 to 5, right? So let me read out this particular performance indicator. Instructional goals and objectives are not stated. Learners cannot tell what is expected of them. Learners cannot determine what they should know and be able to do as a result of learning instruction, as compared to something which is exemplary. So as we move on this to the right-hand side, you would see that it becomes more, the expectations goes higher, it's ascending, yeah? So if the students are able to create these and to show me evidence, instructional goals and objectives clearly stated, learners have a clear understanding of what is expected of them. Learners can determine what they should know and be able to do as a result of learning and instruction. They would score between 16 to 20. So with this particular rubric, when I gave them at week 6, right, I discovered that the students, you know, the number of questions asked lessened so dramatically, and students were actually clear about what it was really expected of this particular assignment, which required them to prepare a lesson plan. So this rubric actually should have been given to them together at week 1 or week 2 of when I actually assigned this e-assessment together to them. Right? So based on my experience, when you design, when you give assignments to your students, I really highly recommend that you give your rubrics as well, together with this assessment that you have assigned to your students. So this is an example of a rubric. Now, the next, so that's e-assessment number 1. So I've shared with you a very simple, straightforward assessment that was done. Students create a lesson plan. They didn't have to hand out in physical form, no papers, upload to the system, where for UPM, for example, we have Troblas. If you are from Nadi University, I'm sure you have your own learning management system. If you do not have a learning management system wherever you are, perhaps maybe just simple email to you, that will be fine. Now, I'm going to share with you the second e-assessment that we had for this course. So coming back to the design as well, yeah? So we wanted our students to create one video as a teaching aid for a selected topic for one subject in whatever school. And they were required to upload the video that they had actually created to YouTube. And once they have the YouTube link, they are required to submit it to the learning management system by week 13. Okay, so week 13. And we estimated that the student learning time, yeah, students will actually take about 12 hours of their time to complete this video assignment. And remember, I said that when you actually design your assessment, it has to be aligned to your learning outcome. So this is the learning outcome that I had shown you earlier. Develop instructional media for teaching and learning, which is at P4. And teamwork, yeah? TS. Now, this is the question where we actually gave our students. So the instruction was, this is a continuous assessment commencing from week 8 to week 14 of the semesters, right? So with your team members, produce an educational video clips related to the topic that you choose for your lesson plan. So it's a continuation of the first assessment, yeah, the first e-assessment that we actually had planned. So students have completed their lesson plan. Now it goes into the second phase of the assignment, which is to come up with the video. So students had the option of either acting in their own skit, in their own video, or they could actually curate some videos, some pictures, and make it into their own video, right? And we gave specific instructions that the video shouldn't be more than 7 minutes long. So based on my experience that when students really couldn't understand, they had a lot of confusion. So I made sure that when I had assigned this particular assessment, I provided the rubric together with the assessment too.
Prof, again,
Yes.
well, I'm really interested to look at this video creation. Just want to ask, in your experience, how did the students reacted to this? Was it easy for them? Was this or extraordinarily interesting for them? They had overcommitted or whatnot? Because
okay. Thank you, Dr. Fat. Like I said, I was very worried because these were physical education students. I had thought that they would not be inclined towards technology. I was proven wrong. I think we underestimate our students actually. They came up with some very good videos. They were not actually afraid of using technology. Yeah, actually this assignment was very much experiential. So experiential learning, which is going to be shared with Dr. Fad, I think on the 31st, right, Dr. Fad? You're going to have another session, right, on experiential learning.
Yes, that will be my session.
Okay. So to know more about experiential learning, Dr. Fad is going to share with you. Yeah. But what happened here is I had not actually taught them step by step. Okay, this is how you click. This is where you click. This is what you do to create a video. They were actually left on their own based on the instruction that we had given. Create an educational video clip. And with the
Prof,
particular...
there's somebody wants to ask.
Yes.
I just got her name as NAC or Shaz. Shaz, where is she? Shaz, you can ask your question now.
Yeah, I have posed there. My question.
Hi,
Shaz. Prof, when you provide the question to the student, does like VR or AR just now, does them know how to develop the VR, or you just let them explore by themselves?
Okay, thank you for your questions. The one that I had actually let them to explore was video. But when we actually introduced AR, we used metaverse, it was demonstrated to them. It was demonstrated because it was really something they had no idea about. So in this current situation where if we do not need, we are not able to have face-to-face with our students, we are going to develop a short video for our students on how to create metaverse. So which means that this particular assessment can be actually done even we are in this situation, in this current situation, where students are not going to be face-to-face with us.
Or maybe if I can just add a bit, in this situation, we can also maybe reward students for their first extensional action to find out on themselves how to use certain technologies. So this maybe can be counted as participation to just extra commitment in the course.
Dr. Fat, thank you very much for actually raising that. I now recall I had one group of students who actually learned another AR software on their own. And they actually showed me that particular software without me telling them how to do it. So what I'm saying is that if we give the opportunity to our students here to just explore and Google, they can actually learn on their own how to create AR. So I had one group who created AR without the assistance that they actually received during our Amali class. So it can be done.
For all that we know, during this time, maybe they have too much time, ample time, and they just want to work among themselves, building videos on their own, or exploring things, and just sharing out, brushing up their collaborative skills, you know?
Yes. So I was actually quite taken aback with my students' ability to come up with the assignment, because I actually underestimated. I was so worried. I said, when I was talking to my colleague, Dr. Masida, I said, Mas, do you think that my student will be able to learn on their own? She said, don't worry. She said that previous experience with other groups of students who are majoring in Bahasa Melayu, in TESOL, they actually managed to come up with really good video clips, very good AR elements in their assessment. So I think we as educators, sometimes we are we worry too much, and we underestimate our students' capabilities. So what I learned from my experience last semester was actually we should allow them to explore. We need to, unleash their creativity and create that environment for them that it's okay, whatever that you present, there is room for improvement. Okay, so I will go to the next slide. So this is what the students were required to do. They had to upload to YouTube. Yeah, so I didn't teach them how to go into YouTube. I didn't teach them how to create their own account and all. They figured it out on themselves, by themselves. And by that particular deadline, all the URLs were up on my Putra Blast, which you can see they were uploaded on Tuesday. So I can see this particular student creating it and uploading it at 12:53 a.m. It was very odd times.
Such commitment.
So yes, correct. Such commitment. They made it on time. They met the deadline. No question. I think, to be honest, if I can remember, none of my students were late. The only problem that they had, they couldn't upload to the Putra Blast at certain time. So I think at that point of time, we as educators have to be flexible. We need to give a benefit of doubt to our students. Sometimes we feel that, are they telling me some lies here, just to extend their time and all that. But because we are using technology, right? Technology is never perfect. So we have to give them some time. If they don't meet the deadline, okay, they contact me, right? They message me and they tell me that we are not able to upload. So I say, okay, I give you 1 hour to upload from now. And they managed to do it, which means that they actually had it prepared, completed. It's just that they couldn't upload it at that point of time, right? So this is the particular
Prof,
assignment.
that was last semester, right?
Yes.
If you can just flick through to the
yes, that was last
slide.
semester.
Oh, I realize here you asked them to put the video link. Just a bit of announcement. In the current Putra Blast, we can embed directly in the forum. So instead of having these links, the students can embed it. So imagine that in the wall, you can just browse through the compilation of the videos. So it can be played right through from the wall. As well as a lecturer, when we are using the forum, use the embed function, and then we can embed directly the video, so it will be more interactive and even nicer. Any other people wants to ask question? You're free to throw any question at any time. Just interrupt. We would be happy to facilitate your question.
Is it
There are
possible?
2 participants here. Just raise hands. Yeah.
Yes, that's it.
Is it possible for us to learn about that, embedding the videos on the
All right, sure, Prof. All for you. It's coming.
Monday or Tuesday, or you
soon.
can give me a free tuition, private tuition.
It's coming. It's coming. We are preparing video tutorials as well to occupy for that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Fat, for pointing that out. This is the old version of our Putra Blast, yeah? So what I had encountered is that the students were not able to embed the video. So I had to copy and paste every of these URL to check one by one when I was doing the assessment. So if now I understand that Putra Blast, the newest version that we have at UPM, students are able to embed the video right into Putra Blast, which means that I do not need to cut and paste anymore. I just click. So if I want to check Siti Noraini binti Siddiq's video, I just click and then the video would run on its own. So that would cut down a lot of time during the assessment. Okay. Okay. So now what I'm going to share with you is what happened at the implementation stage here. Like I said, when I had given the rubric to the students, so students had less confusion, they knew exactly what was required, but some hiccups happened, which I didn't expect. When I was doing the assessment, I was going to score or do the marking using the rubrics, I discovered that several of my students' videos were removed from YouTube for violation of copyright materials. So we as educators, we have to be very careful. We have to remind our students when they curate materials from the internet, they have to be aware of copyright materials, right? So out of the 51 students that I had, yeah, so there were about 7 to 8 groups because it was the group work. Only one group had this problem, violation of copyright materials, which means that when I click on that URL on the YouTube, it was just blank and there was this announcement on YouTube that says violation, deleted because of violation of copyright materials.
So one question coming on
yes.
Copyright. Yes. Hello, boss. That is me.
Hello, Assalamualaikum. Good afternoon, Prof. Wong.
Hi, Dr. Ismi.
And and Tim. Okay, just a simple question about the YouTube just now. When you ask the students to upload those YouTube, it means the videos when public, is it? Or you can control just for the class consumption? Thank you.
Because I actually didn't create a channel.
Okay.
It was actually open. It was open to the whole world.
But can you control just for your class consumption?
If we have our own channel, yes.
Oh,
but I didn't have
in my experience.
So your suggestion?
In my experience, because Prof doesn't have channel, but just wants to share, this actually doesn't really relate to the channel. When someone upload the video, this is actually already provided in the FAQ. Somebody asked this question in our e-clinic last time. When we upload a video in the YouTube, you can choose whether you want to put it public or unlisted or private. So what are the differences of this? Public means we just put and then people will search if the query, the keyword matches the title of our video. So high chance that the person would be able to have our video listed. If we put it as unlisted, even if people search exactly the title that we put, they won't find it.
Okay.
If we put private also, they won't find it. They won't know anything about it.
Yeah, because during
in
this
my
COVID
experience, my students, I usually ask them to put public or unlisted. Unlisted means they have to give to me their link. Sorry, the difference between unlisted and private is that private, when we search, we wouldn't find it. And also if the person passed to us the link also, maybe we wouldn't be able to find to access to it. Using unlisted also we can't. So when we ask our students to upload their file, ask them to put either public or unlisted. If they are not comfortable with putting it as public, can put as unlisted. Same to us, because there is this concern by our lecturers. They are not really happy to put the videos of their class or whatever as public. So
yes.
the answer is to put as unlisted and pass the URL so other people who knows the URL only can access to it.
Okay, thank you. Because during this COVID, I will get more videos from the students, inshallah.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Fad. Okay, let me see if I can show you one example of my student who actually uploaded to the YouTube channel. Okay, so this particular group, can you see the video on my screen?
It's still not playing.
Oh, okay,
maybe how about the others? Can you see the video already? I can't yet.
No, cannot.
Oh, you can't see. Okay, never mind. We'll just keep that.
Or maybe if you can put the.
Oh yeah, I can actually put it into
the chat.
Yeah, good idea. I can't seem to find the chat. Oh yeah, okay, I can see it here. I'm having some problems here. I think I will do it later. Okay. Let me continue with the next slide. Before that, so apart from the violation of copyright materials, of course, you also have problems with the wrong links. Students giving me incomplete links. So when you click, nothing comes out. Yeah. So I think what I learned from here, from my experience, when we want to give such kind of assignments, we need to get them to upload early, and we do our assessment early. Don't do it last minute because when you do it last minute, students may not be, contactable. So because I did it quite early during the marking, I had time still to tell the students. So students already balik kampung at that time, but I could contact them through WhatsApp. Get them to upload again. The one for this particular group who couldn't get it done on YouTube, they had to look for an alternative, another platform that would actually be able to, where they can submit their video, and they gave me the link. So all this was done within 24 hours. So I presume that the students had no intention of cheating. It's just that these are all some technical errors or technical problems that will crop up when we are dealing with digital assessments. Yeah, and it is our responsibility, yeah, to get in contact with such students and tell them the problem and give them a specific time frame to upload the particular assignment. So this is e-assessment number 2. Yeah. So this was what happened during my during last semester, and now I'm going to share with you the last e-assessment, which is portfolio. The portfolio. Yeah. So this is the design stage of this assessment number 3. Students were required to prepare an e-portfolio, and we gave instructions that the students could use any platform. Wix, WordPress, Blogspot. I can tell you that the students are more adventurous than me. They know more than I do, actually, to be honest. And I was quite surprised. And I'm really happy that, you know, although these are physical education students, they know a lot. So I think these are digital natives, really digital native students who are familiar with technology because they use technology all the time, right? So for this particular assessment, we estimated that the students would actually require about 8 hours of their time to complete the e-portfolio. For this particular assessment, we had decided that it's going to be an individual work, right? So like I said, the first assessment number 1, number 2, it was group work. But because of one particular student who didn't want to work with anyone, so this particular one student worked individually for assessment 1, assessment 2, and assessment 3. And the requirement of this course was to, for this particular assessment, was students were required to update every week. So we figured that it wouldn't be that difficult for them to update every week on their blog because they're always glued to their handphones, right?
Excuse me, Prof.
Yeah.
What's the difference between this one and the previous one? Is it a continuity assessment or different tasks altogether?
Okay, it's a different task, but it is to record down to, we want to see the reflection of the students when they are creating the video. We want to see the students' reflection about what they learn in the class. We wanted them to express their thoughts in writing through this e-portfolio. That was the whole idea of this particular assessment. Did I answer your question, Dr. Fat?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So it didn't take a long time for the students to actually come up with their own blogspot, with their WordPress. So they had the freedom to choose what platform they wanted. And the requirement was they need to submit the link by week 2. Now, what happened was during the implementation stage, there were students who were having problems with their registration. Meaning, once they have, they are not able to register for the particular semester, they would have access to Putra Blast. So this is something that caught me off guard. This would be too early. So which means that when we plan the time, how long, when to upload, you need to assess the situation. So based on the experience last semester, for this semester, this was changed to week 4. You know, sometimes students have problems with their scholarship, the money is not credited yet into the bursar. So with that, because of that, they are not able to register and then they can't go into Putra Blast. So this kind of things crops up, yeah, all the time. So this is the design for e-assessment number 3. So this is the actual question that we actually prepared for our students. E-portfolio is an individual assignment throughout the semester. You may use any platform to sign up for an e-portfolio account. In the e-portfolio, you must post updates and progress of your project, write reflection based on the activities done throughout the semester. So we had actually wanted the student to do it week by week. So we expected to see 14 reflections, 14 weeks, yeah? And I had this hunch that the students were not going to actually write the reflection week by week. So what happened was, I was going to check each and every URL that was actually uploaded into the system. I'll talk about that later on. So as again, like I mentioned earlier, we had prepared the rubrics for our students when we assigned this e-assessment number 3 to the students. So this is how the rubric looked like, yeah? As I mentioned, on the left-hand side is the criteria. What is it that we wanted to assess our students in terms of their e-portfolio, yeah? And on the right-hand side, we have the performance indicator: adequate, developing, competent, and excellent. And this is what we call an analytic rubric. There are many types of rubric, yeah? So I'll take the opportunity to introduce to you 2 types of rubric which are very popular, used by most educators, yeah? So this is how an analytic rubric is: a very comprehensive rubric because you assess your students according to the components. So you see on the left-hand side. So for their portfolio, we wanted to see how they actually express the communication of reflection, what was their content knowledge, and how much effort they put into the assignment. The second type of rubric is called holistic rubric. This is not such a popular rubric because it doesn't go into very detail. If you actually look at this rubric, yeah, holistic means that it's one lump sum, the whole thing. You are going to assess it as it is. By looking at this particular assignment, I'm going to give 48%. If it's a really good assignment, then I'll probably give 86%. So this is what we call as a holistic rubric. Okay, so I think most of us would prefer to use an analytic rubric because it's very detailed, component by component. So if students query, they ask, why did I give them 4 for communication? I can tell them, well, you had everything there. You had reflection. You were able to generate new ideas. Yeah, you provided examples. So if student had actually scored 1 for their effort, they know because they had less than 14 updates. So no arguments, no queries. They got the message why they scored low or why they scored high. Okay, so for this session, I'm just sharing 2 types of rubrics, which is the analytic rubric, and the second one is called the holistic rubric. So now is the implementation of the assessment number 3. Now, assessment number 3, like I said, they were required to prepare the portfolio, upload it to any type of platform. So most of my students chose WordPress. Okay, so these are the some of the hiccups that I had experienced last semester. They could not register by week 2, so quite a few of them could not upload the URL on our Putra Blast. This is something that
there are some people who raise hand.
Yeah.
Is there a question? Prof. Sharim and Dr. Wan Marzuki just raise hand. Any question?
Hi, Prof. Wong.
Hi, Prof.
Hello.
Sharim. Yep.
How are you? Thank you for sharing.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Prof. Wong, I just want to ask, to ask you, how's your experience in grading online, how much time do you spend, and, for each assignment, how much time do you spend for each assignment?
Okay. Thank you very much, Prof. Sharim, for that question. I think the time that I spent to grade was not much. it wasn't much difference as compared to when I did it, you know, the old way, the traditional way. But I must say that you have to be very consistent. You have to do your grading early because of the technical errors that you will face. And I think what made it easy was everything was on Putra Blast. I just get the URL. I just do it anywhere, you know, whenever I have time, I can just click on that link and I can just have a look. I didn't have to carry bundles of assignments back home. It can be done, you know, digitally. In a way, it's much structured. You know, when you do assessment, it's easier in a sense that you know that there's no missing assignments and all. But the effort to put in, that you put in or I put in during the grading is, I wouldn't say it's overwhelming. It was not. It was you know, all responsibilities. Well, I mean, our responsibility to grade, and I just did it. I didn't have any problem with that.
Thank you. But anyway, you know, like you don't have any, you know, pen or pencil that you think, you know, so how, like you just read, you go through and then you just give marks based on your rubric, right?
Yes, it is so, which means that you are actually looking at the screen quite a lot of time, quite a bit, because you're doing it digitally. There's no paper for you to bring home to grade.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you, Prof. Shari, for the question. Now, going back to the requirement that we wanted our students to update weekly. Okay. Now, what I discovered was students actually did not follow my instruction. They did not update weekly. So the good thing about when you're using this particular kind of block, when you update, you can see the dates and the time is captured. So these students, being students, they would do 7 weeks of update at one go. It's all captured, right? So my advice, or based on my experience, we need to monitor our students. So constant monitoring is very important for e-assessment. It's not like when the students are doing it, you know, on paper-based and all that. You can't see because they are doing it in their rooms and all that, and you know, they're not going to come and knock on your door and show you. But when they do it online, you can really check, and I do check the students, right? So this is what I discovered. In my next slide, I will show you what I did in class to make sure that students know that I'm checking on them, right? So some unexpected hiccups that occurred last semester was some of the students didn't realize that their blocks or the particular platform that they use was set in default in private view. So when they gave me the URL, I couldn't see. So the same thing again, you have to detect all this early so that you can rectify it, you know. There was also one case where the student did her assignment, but I just simply couldn't see it on my screen, not in my desktop. She even gave me the link so that I could see it on my handphone. It only appeared on her handphone. Very strange problem that I encountered. This was the very first time that I had. So what I had to do was I had to get this student to show me on her handphone. Okay, so this is a very, it's not a common problem, but it happened. So these are some of the technical problems.
Kisah benar, Prof.
Yes, kisah benar. It only could be seen on this particular handphone, which was the student's handphone. So of course, that needed time. I had to get in touch with the students, you know. So like I said, when you do your grading, please do not do last minute. As you know, in UPM, we have a duration of time, right, to do your grading. So please put in this kind of hiccups, yeah. Factor these kind of hiccups when you want to do your grading for digital assessment.
Prof, can you take questions, Prof? There are a few questions coming in.
Please.
We have one from Dr. John Keen.
Hi, Dr. John.
Are you around?
Hello, yeah.
How's Bintulu, Dr. John?
It's very quiet. Everybody's staying home.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, Prof. Wong, I just
Yeah.
want to ask about this one student that was conducting his or her work alone.
Yes.
How do you assess him or her for the teamwork?
Okay, I had to remove that component. But because it was in the LO, yeah, I had to assess the students from another perspective, like how did this student interact and mix around in the classroom. So which means that I have to actually be flexible and adjust as things happen during the semester, which I didn't expect actually. So I think what we need to be more careful in the future is that create this assessment as either giving an option where students are able to do it individually or group work. We give that option. I think I was too strict in that sense that, you know, we just assume, okay, group work, all the students will be following our instruction and would work in group. So flexibility is a key here. Being able to adapt in that situation was very important at that point of time. Right, Dr. John, did I answer your question?
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, any
one more question coming from Dr. Ismi.
Prof.
Yeah,
Wong.
Dr. Ismi, yes.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry to reverse back. You know,
okay.
Looking at the analytic assessment just now.
Okay, let me go back to that screen.
I was wondering, because we have the rubric, but how do you differentiate between giving a 2 and a 3 for content knowledge, for example, if the students ask, you know, between limited ability and emerging ability, we still have to have our own way of differentiating, right? At the end of the day.
Are you saying that if the students are what, like between 2.5, like they are neither at 2 or neither at 3?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
I think for analytic rubric, we can actually be flexible. The one that I've shown you here is a very fixed 1, 2, 3. Well, we can actually put a range to that.
Right.
So it could be, you know, between 2 to maybe this one for adequate, it could be 1 to 5, and then for developing, it could be, there's a range to it.
Yeah. So
but I think
at the end, we have to have our professional judgment, right?
Yes, the professional judgment comes in here. As all humans, there is a little bit of subjectivity.
Yeah. Okay, I understood.
Taking place.
Thank you,
Dr. Ismi, for your question.
Thank you.
Prof, there is one more question. Interestingly, these questions are aligned from Dr. Ruslisa as well as from Dr. Azura, who left it in YouTube. Thank you to be around. So let me read one from Dr. Ruslisa, or if she's around. Hello, Dr. Ruslisa, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, Dr.
It's a really nice question.
Okay.
I was wondering, since this e-assessment thing is going to work if we are at the planning stage of the course, right?
Yes.
So as for now, for the current situation, we are in week 8. So what is your suggestion on the e-assessment if it has not been built in the current course? How can we use this e-assessment method in our current teaching?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. I think we had, my colleague and I, for this semester, well, no one expected this to happen, right? So we had actually adjusted our assignment. From group work, we changed it to individual. We also threw out one assignment. From 5 assignment, we reduced it to 4. So which means that we have to make a very quick decision at that point of time to ensure that under the very unusual situation, we cannot expect them to perform as how they would in a very normal situation. So I think we cut down on the number of assignments, and the expectations was lowered a little bit, but not to the extent of not achieving the LO. So I think even though we are now quite, midpoint of the semester, we still can change the assignment for the particular student. Even actually for this particular course, I'm teaching this course again this semester, students were actually supposed to hand up their assignments by week 6. And because at that time, that night, there was this, what we call it, the announcement by the Prime Minister. So I just told the students, forget about your deadline. I'll get back in touch with you when the time comes. Don't worry about the assignments. But I told them, don't forget, you still need to complete your assignments. So my advice to you would be flexible and adapt to the situation. It is still possible to change your assignment from a normal assignment into a digital assignment. Even if you need the students to just email you, that is okay. It's not, something that you need to change anything. It's just that the mode of submitting will be different. So I think that's all right.
All right, thank you, Prof. Wong.
Thank you,
What
Dr.
about
Susan.
just one more question?
Yeah.
What about final exams? Is it possible to be changed into e-assessment mode?
Okay, that's a very big question. I think CADe is handling that together with our TNCA, but that would require the Senate's decision. But if you ask me whether we can actually, in a situation like this, whether we can actually do an e-assessment or any type of assessment which is not a traditional kind, yes, it is possible to assess our students under this very unusual situation that we are all going through. What we can do is that we look for the best possible evidence that's out there which students can produce under this situation for us to assess our students.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Rosliza.
Her last question actually resounding Dr. Azura's question, who posted in YouTube. So the question was, in current situation, if let's say this prolongs, meaning all assessment can be evaluated by giving only assignments. So this goes back to the Senate decision. As of the flexibility of giving assessment, I think we are very lucky to have the structure in UPM where we have this continuous assessment format. Yeah.
Yes.
So this is where we as the educator can design what is suitable for our students. We don't have to stick to anything stagnant from semester to semester. We can cherish the students' ability. We have to also sense what is the needs of the industry right now and also with the situation right now. So I think in that we are flexible, but in terms of the final exam, you will wait for the Senate announcement.
Yes. So just to continue with that, Dr. Fat, I think all of us are familiar with the Transformasi Academic in UPM, right, which was launched last year. This is exactly what we were working on, to move away for traditional examination for the peperiksaan akhir. Actually, we were working on that at last year we were working on that, where what we wanted, as advocated by Prof. Iqbal, the idea was it is not necessary to have final exam peperiksaan akhir di dalam Dewan. That was what CADe was working on. So let's see what happens. So which means that it is something that may happen. We do not require students to be in the examination hall. We are not going to be seated and answering pen and paper examinations. We can assess through alternative assessment. So this is just the right time for us to embrace alternative assessment, assess them in different ways that we know. So just now in my slide, I gave you some examples of what is alternative assessments. Yeah? So I hope that you get some ideas on, and maybe you want to prepare from now, what possible questions that you can actually prepare for your students if we cannot take the final examination. Okay, so this next slide is what I want to show you. This is a screen capture of one of my students' blog. Yeah, remember the portfolio assignment number 3. He wrote this on the WordPress, yeah, and this is what he wrote. Pada 26 November 2019, Prof Wong telah melihat WordPress yang telah dilakukan kami satu per satu. Saya memperolehi markah lebih kerana saya sentiasa mengemas kini WordPress saya. So what my message here is that you need to put across the message to the student that you are actually checking and monitoring their progress so that they know that I know that they have been working. If you don't put that across, then you will have problems like students just leaving it last minute to do all 14 posts at one point of time. Okay, so I think going back to Prof. Sharim's question, how much effort do I need to put in? I think there's some effort that you have to sacrifice, you have to put in to monitor your students. But I think this effort really is, it pays off for me because I'm happy to see that students put in extra effort to improve their work. And I think assessment is all about learning. It is not about grading. I have to really emphasize on this point that assessment is not just learning, getting all the A's and A minus, all those grades. But what we want from our student is that they learn in the process. So I gave this opportunity to my students to improve their work. If it's not good enough, which means that if you look at from the perspective of the educator, you spend extra time monitoring, looking at the student, giving them feedback. But at the same time, I think you will feel very satisfied because students give their best at the end of the day. This is another blog that I captured, the screen capture. This is actually, if you're familiar with the Faculty of Educational Studies, our PFC, Putra Future Classroom. Yeah. So that's this group of students. And this is what one of the students wrote. Hari ini kami telah membincangkan mengenai blog yang kami telah lakukan. Banyak penambahbaikan yang perlu kami lakukan di dalam blog kami. Blog yang terbaik adalah blog yang mempunyai refleksi, new things learned, interesting things, and compelling question. So you can see that the students are actually translating what is happening in the classroom, what is happening out of the classroom, and they put in the effort to improve because there is monitoring, there is feedback from me. If I do not give them feedback, then there will be no improvement for my students. So we as educators play a very important role in giving students feedback. So alternative assessment, okay, any type of assessment actually, emphasizes on one really important thing is giving feedback to the students on how to improve their work. Because what we want is the learning process. So we don't want to see something which is like just a product, but you do not see the process that happens or occurs behind that particular assignments. Yeah. So this particular portfolio, I think it really captures what transpired from week 1 until week 14. Now, what I've shared with you from the early stage until now was all graded assessment. So which means that students were very clear from the very beginning of the class that they had actually graded assessment. They knew how many % was assigned to the assessment. Now, I want to emphasize also on non-graded assessment. Like I said, assessment is a very important tool for us, to gain information about our students' learning. Students also get information about how much I know as a student, how much have I learned, how much that I do not know, how much I can do. So non-graded assessment is very important, and I improvised this in my my teaching last semester. It was given to students. I made it very clear to them that it was non-graded. I told them very clearly, I said, when you are in my class, grade is not everything. What is important is how much you learn, how much you actually learn, what you can do, what kind of competency do you actually acquire from this course, because you are going to apply this competency, these skills when you are in the school. So I think I did actually put the message across to them that assessment is not all about grades. And I had done I show you two examples of non-graded assessment that I did in my class, yeah? So no scores, students were aware of that. What I told them is, I want to see you improve in your learning. This is how you learn, and this is where you should be improving, knowing where you are lacking and how do you improve that. And it was done randomly, actually. For the first 2 weeks, yeah, after I completed the topic, I just gave them a very simple question on our Putra Blast, just a one-liner. Discuss with your group and come up with your own definition of technology. And you know, I actually asked my students, I said, how many of you have internet connection on your handphone? Everybody has. They have data plan, but most of them are on prepaid. Yeah. So we have to be careful when we are designing our digital assessment, because of the limitations that they have on their internet access. Yeah, they are prepaid. And the assignments that we designed did not require students to be online all the time. They can actually do it offline, yeah. And when it's done, they just copy and they just upload and just submit online. So if you look at this particular question, which is a non-graded question, it just required 1 line or 2 lines of answers from the students. All I wanted to know is, did they understand the basic concept of technology, which was actually, which I shared for the first 2 weeks of my course. Very simple, straight to the point. So from the answers that I got, I could actually conclude that they did understand the concept of technology that I wanted them to acquire or to understand before I went further into the week 3, 4, and so forth of the semester. So
you have many more slides, Prof?
No, not really. A few more before I end. How much time do I have now? Have I exceeded the time?
Well, if you can just speed up a bit.
Okay.
You've gone over the time.
Oh, really? I'm so sorry, Datin. Okay, this one is draw and post on WhatsApp group. This particular topic that I taught the class was about infographics. I'm sure everybody knows what's infographics. Nobody likes to read text, right? So how do you put across your message? It is through drawings and graphics and so forth. So in order for me to understand or to gauge whether they are able to understand what is infographic, I got them to come up with their own drawing of infographics. So I gave them a question, simple question like, can you tell me how you felt about my course from week 1 to week 5? This is what I got. And I told them to snap a picture and post it into our WhatsApp group. So this is a non-graded assessment. This is example number 1, example number 2. Yeah, learn many things. This particular student even claimed that he fell in love with my subject. Yeah, well, it could be true. I believe so. I'm happy when I read this. Another example, how they felt. So you see that I could actually gauge my student. They understood what I wanted to share with them. And I got the message that what I have been teaching, how the way I teach the pedagogy, the instructional materials that I have used has been quite effective. So another example would be Slido. Yeah, this was a course that I taught 2 years ago. It gives me the opportunity to ask questions and students are able to answer it synchronously on the spot. And I can see it on the screen, student can see it on the screen. So the question was, apakah ciri guru sains pertanian yang berkesan di Malaysia? And students just use their handphone. They just pull out their handphone and just start typing. And you can see they give very good answers, some cheeky answers like handsome and beautiful and so forth. Yeah. So because this is anonymous. Okay. Coming back to towards the end of my presentation, when you are planning, when you are designing your e-assessment, don't forget you need to evaluate and reflect. How do you improve? What went wrong? What can be improved? What should be thrown out? Another question was it too much for my students to actually go through the e-assessment? And did we achieve the LOs?
Right. At that point, maybe you can just directly answer one question. Did everybody answer the non-graded assessment?
Out of my from the observations that I had, okay, this one I had actually 40 plus, I think about 40 students, 21 students answer it. So you probably won't get all, but I think it's a good start to get that going, where you get the students to want to participate. Okay, the do's and don'ts. Very quickly, before I end my sharing session. Number one, align your assessment with the LOs. I think all of us as educators, we know that. Assessment should come with rubrics when you want to do your grading. But at the same time, remember that not all assessments should be graded. It focus on learning. Allow our students to improve without penalty. So I had given a lot of opportunities for my students to improve, and then they submit it again to me. Be flexible, monitor your students' progress constantly, and don't do your assessment or don't do your marking last minute, okay? And remind your students about copyrighted materials. So I think I've come to the end of my sharing session. Thank you very much for joining me this afternoon, and I hand it back to the host, Dr. Fadlina.
Right. Okay. Thank you. One golden question before we allow you to go away, or maybe we can answer this together.
Okay.
Somebody asked. Right. This is quite big. Where is this? Many people ask for your slides, Prof. That's one. If it's possible to put in the Google Drive and then pass right out. That's one. And one more was the question. Okay. Want to get the idea. This is by Dr. Izra Hayu. Are you around? And Dr. Chong has been raising his hand over and over. I need to allow him to ask. Dr. Izra Hayu?
Hello?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, hello.
Hi, Prof. Wong. I have two questions to ask.
Okay.
One, I realize that you have two assignments addressing CTPS, one assignment addressing team spirit. So how do you translate the rubric into the point for each PO? That's my first question. Second question will be, when we do tests, we need to do Bengkel modulasi soalan. So for e-assessment, do we need this? Okay, that's my questions.
Okay, the first question about the LO, how do you measure different components of the LO? Going back to, if you recall that I had the analytic rubrics. The analytic rubrics has criteria. So you can put in the criteria. So if for teamwork, I can actually have one criteria on teamwork, whether the students are able to communicate well, whether they had problems with their teammates and so forth. The second question that you had was about moderasi, right? Well, currently, our ISO requires us to have moderasi not for assignments, but for test questions, examinations. So for our e-assessment, we didn't go through the moderasi, but because this course was taught by more than one lecturer, we had agreement. We had to get agreement from all the lecturers that this was suitable for all our students.
Thank you, Prof.
Question by Dr. Shariza just now. One question from Dr. Nur Hazlin. How about LO like leadership skill or entrepreneurship skill? I think Prof Wong just addressed that to put in the analytical rubric. One question to us idea, if you're not going to have the final, how are we going to do this in okay here. Where is this? If we are not going to have our final, how can we still have it online? Something like that. What is the question?
Okay, I think all of us are very, very concerned whether we are able to have our final exams or not. Well, if let's say it happens that we are not going to have our final exams, well, you can convert your question into a take-home exam. Take-home exam, which is an open book. I think one key thing I need to remind all of you and myself as well, if we go to that extent, that is the best way of collecting the best evidence available at that point of time. Your take-home exams probably will not be a very easy question. If you remember Bloom's taxonomy, it should not start at the lowest level, which is remembering. You have to go at higher level, which is like application, creation, higher level, so that there's no way that students can actually discuss and comment.
So that is why the sharing by you today is very good. We focus on the portfolio, which is creation.
Yes,
a lot
creation.
of competencies are being demonstrated.
Yes, the highest level. But look back at your learning outcome for your particular course.
Hello, I got a question.
Yes, Latin.
Well, the thing is this, I'm doing a game-based learning evaluation where 5% goes to they're all group work, 5% goes to the game itself, where they'll have peer assessment, and another 5% is by competition, where the team with the highest score will get the full marks, and it goes down, sliding down.
Yeah. All right.
Now, I was halfway through it, and then we have all this suspension of classes. So what do I do? Because half the class have already got their assessment done, but the other half have not done theirs.
How did you assess the ones before this happened? Before we were
they were all competing in the games, so they and they all got scores 1 to 10 for the 10 groups. I had 11 groups actually, so 1 to 10 for their ranking. And in the end, after all the teams have played, then we would have we just total up, and then we can give the score, where the top team will get full marks, 5 out of 5, and then it's going down, sliding down until a maximum of 3 out of 5. So now I'm halfway through, and they're all wondering what next, because the others are not here now.
So does this game require the students to actually play against each other?
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay.
They have to play, and they have to create quizzes, and that they are competing. And
what is the heart of this task? What is the gist of the task, the assessment?
The gist is I've got a rubric. So and also the competition is like, for example, if there is like a quiz, so the group that has won the quiz will get the top mark, and you go down how many scores, how many points you get. But it's more for they have got about 5 topics to go through. So each group will have to cover a topic, a particular topic. So that's how they learn. And I found it has been quite effective for the last few semesters that I've taught them. And but this time is halfway there, and then we have this class suspension. So
maybe you can consider e-gamification way of implementation. If you can just tell more about the gist. For example, is it per topic? Each person has to present something and then question. The game show. Imagine something like one group ask question from this topic, and other people have to answer. Is it set up like that way?
Something like that, but it's more than that. It's interactive as well. They have to run, and it's all about fun as well as learning. But yeah, I think maybe we can do e-gamification, but I'll need to catch up with one of you to show me how to do that.
Yeah, e-gamification.
Okay. Yeah.
I think Manraj is around. Manraj and Chong, these are 2 people who are master of e-gamification. I would say I would be happy to assist as well. But these people are more senior than me. So good hands are around. I saw Dr. Ismia wanted put up your hand just now. Did you raise your hand?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Fad. Prof. Wong, last question.
Right.
Take-home message with e-assessment. I assume we don't request for hard copy evidence from the students. So how do you archive the evidence? In what form? For example, for future reference. Thank you.
Our Putra Blast has this archive that we can actually pull for. For example, in our Putra Blast for last semester, I can still get the links that students posted on the Putra Blast. So we need to get the students to upload to somewhere. So if you had, if you recall that for my course, I got the students to upload the URL on the YouTube, on the WordPress. They are still available now, and I still can access this particular URL.
So that's will be useful, especially during audit and whatnot, right?
Yes, but just to be sure, I also have it on my hard disk, which means that I actually physically cut and paste. I don't know, is that, Dr. Fa, is there any better way that we can actually extract the information out from Putra Blast, those URLs?
Yeah, I'm asking for others as well. Yeah? Actually, for our future reference.
Yeah. So I didn't find the method to do it from Putra Blast. So I actually cut and paste and put it into Excel. So I have a copy in my hard disk.
You can actually download that.
Can it be downloaded?
Yes.
Okay.
SQL or when you were checking one by one, in my experience, how I did it, I had to visit their URL and then I put everything in one playlist. So I actually compile for all the semesters, so it will be continuous. So that means in every semester I have to do something new, which student for this semester can refer the previous students' work. In terms of the archiving for audit purposes or whatever, this actually, I think you can just print out from the page, or better if you can just download as URL in the.
So it'll be there forever and ever, inshallah.
What do you mean?
So meaning that if you have it there, you can always refer even after 5 years, 6 years and whatnot. Kan?
Oh, our archiving is still the 5 years archiving.
Okay.
So after 5 years, we will be doing some other housekeeping method, but it will be accessible. But I believe if it is something really crucial, it is up to our effort to make sure that it is accessible.
We have backups, more backups.
Backup, because we still have to put in the file, right?
Right. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Ismi.
Thank you, Prof. Thanks.
All right.
Any more question?
If there's any more question, but I just want to remind everyone, if you've not taken your attendance, you can actually either click on the link on the chat, or you can just scan this QR code.
There's one question on YouTube from Dr. Muhammad Faiz Zainuddin. He asked about how do we grade visual aspect of your e-assessment, such as poster or video, with rubric through? This is his question.
Sorry, I don't quite understand the question.
I posted on the chat. How do you grab?
How do you grab?
I type again.
What is that in the chat? I read for you. How do you grade the visual aspect of a e-assessment, such as poster or video? Is it with rubric as well?
Yes,
the
I
visual
have rubrics.
aspect.
The visual aspect, correct. Rubrics.
I think this depends also on the skills related. If it is a blog, then even the layout, the choice of the components, the quality and the design all matters. But it is just an expression of what has been understood. So the cognitive matters more, and the infographic is just a material for us to express. So we still need to go to the gist of what we are actually trying to measure, in my opinion.
Thank you, Dr. Fad, for answering that question. Yeah, the rubric is actually, we have rubrics for every aspect of posters, for the videos, and all the components that we wanted to assess.
Okay. Anything more before? Please allow me just to wrap. Can you see my screen now? The key takeaways. Can you see my screen now?
No.
No? I'm showing key takeaways.
Prof Wong should stop sharing screen so that we can see Dr. Fad's screen.
Right, okay.
Okay, I've stopped sharing my screen.
Prof Wong, in the meantime, if you can put in a Google Drive your file and make it public, so we will put that in the. You can paste that in the chat. We will also move that into somewhere else and put that in the CADe website afterwards. Okay, to wrap up, the key takeaways from today's talk. Thank you very much to Prof. Wong. Maybe we can clap also, although we cannot see each other. I think it has been really
Thank you so much, everyone.
Have been praised. So we have to always align the learning outcome rubric and then focus also the graded and non-graded assessment, and focus on the digital competencies as well. As we know, right now students needs to hone up their digital competencies, while infographic is something is going to be their bread and butter. Video is not going to be something new to them. E-portfolio would be a very good channel to boost themselves and promote UPM as well. Prof. Wong has shown example on how Putra Blast, YouTube, Slido, WhatsApp, WordPress, and also one AR application you mentioned just now can be used in learning. Right.
Metaverse.
Metaverse, yes, Metaverse. So maybe I can give a few minutes to anyone who wants to ask more questions before we end this session. Any more questions? Let me check in the chat quickly. Right. Okay. Thank you very much for your participation, everyone. I hope that you'll still be around for our next session coming on Monday. Thank you very much. If you have any more questions or comments regarding our session on CPD, kindly email to the CADe-Latihan@upm.edu.my. The slides we will put in. Are you ready with the link, Prof? The slide have you put in the Google Drive? We'll put the link in the
I think what I'll do is
no problem. It's in YouTube. Yeah. If it's ready, you can just put it in the chat.
I have not uploaded it yet.
Right. Okay. Maybe we need some time to put this up. We'll put in kids' website. Is that okay? So how to get there? Just show you. It's gonna be in here. It's gonna be, I'll put slide for today's session will be uploaded in this. Okay. Right. Thank you very much. Bye-bye for now, everyone.
Thank you. Goodbye. And stay safe, everyone.
Bye. Stay safe. Stay home.